but I feel like a lot of the decisions I made was because of lack of knowledge and lack of guidance on, especially with men, on what I should be looking for. Because my whole thing with men was, I had an attachment issue, was the fact that any man I'm dealing with is never going to be there long term. Why? Because yeah, I knew who my father was, but he was never there long term. I never had a real relationship with him. My mom would take me to go see him on the weekends, because that's one thing I always respected about my mom. Regardless of what kind of a father my father was, my mom always left the door open for him to be a father regardless. And that's one thing I did get from my mother, that regardless of what me and my husband was going through, I always allowed him to be a father. Regardless of what people were saying, if he wasn't being the best father, I always allowed that door. And that's one thing my mom always gave me too. She always allowed my father to be a father, but he just chose not to be the father that I felt like he should have been. Yeah, like I was saying, like I have a daughter now, and one instance is a very innocent instance, but it gave me a feeling that is unexplainable, because ever since I was pregnant with my daughter, my husband would always come to my stomach and he would always say, "Hey pretty girl, hey pretty girl, hey beautiful." He would speak to her, and then when she came, it was the same thing. And the funny thing about it, I don't know if it's because my son picked up on what his dad did, but one day he was talking to my daughter, and my daughter was fussing, and he was like, "Hey pretty girl." He was like, "You too pretty to be fussing, Rain. You're too pretty to be fussing. You're too adorable to be crying like that, Rain. Calm down. You're too pretty. You're too pretty." And I thought it was really funny. And I was like, wow. He had to have gotten that from his dad. And then, like, if you ask him anything about his sister, the first thing he'd be like, "Yeah, I love my baby sister. She's adorable." And I tweeted about this, and I also put it up as a Facebook status. I was like, one thing my daughter would never have to worry about, would never, you know, need from a man, is for a man to tell her how beautiful, how pretty she is, because her dad has been telling her that since in the womb, and her brother has been telling her that since birth. And it's really innocent. It may seem really innocent to anyone else, but it means a lot to me that my children are growing up, even with my son. My son is growing up with the example of what a man should do, and what a man should be. My son looks up to his father. Granted, as he gets older, he may or may not look up to his dad, or his interests may shift. But right now, when people ask him what he wants to be when he grows up, he said he wants to be a daddy, because he wants to be like his daddy. And I'm so thankful that my children had that example that I did not have. My children had that guidance. When my daughter grows up, my daughter won't grow up with the mindset that I have to be this super independent woman, because I'm not going to have a companion. I'm not going to have a husband. I'm not going to have a protector. I'm not going to have a provider. So I have to do it all on my own, because that's how I grew up. I grew up, because although it's not, you know, I grew up seeing what I saw. I grew up feeling like I always have to be the super independent woman. I always have to be the super career-driven woman. Everything has to be about the almighty dollar, so I can be able to take care of myself, because nobody else is going to take care of me. And I'm happy that my daughter doesn't have to grow up with that mentality, that her companion is out there, because it's a man out there. It's going to be a man out there like her daddy. Now, granted, I'm going to instill in my daughter the things that she needs to know, so she's able to do it on her own, because I can't. Don't get me wrong, if my husband wasn't here, I would still be able to raise my children. I would still be able to do what I needed to do, because I had to. Now, I'm going to instill that in my daughter, to be able to do stuff she has to do just in case she has to. And so that she doesn't feel like when she does get with a man, she has to do everything and take care of this man. Or she doesn't have to depend on this man. Because my children grow up knowing that, are growing up now, and they're going to grow up knowing that, yeah, my mommy and my daddy are together. They love each other. But my mom wasn't with my dad because she was dependent on him because she needed him. My dad and my mom are together because they loved each other. And back to the passport Cuddy story. So the girl was saying, F my baby daddy, I don't need him. I got this, I got this. So another girl tweeted passport Cuddy, and she said, no, I don't need you financially to take care of my children because I can do it. But I'm going to need you to come and pick up your kids and spend time with them. And I felt like, in all honesty, that was like a great response because, yeah, as women, we do what we, especially as black women, we do what we have to do because we have to do it, because a lot of times we're placed in situations where we have to be single mothers. We have to raise our children by ourselves because we have to. This is what it is for us. But for you to go into a situation and for you to conceive a child with the person, this not work out with the person, and turn around and because things did not work out with a person, or things did not work out the way you want it to work out, or things are not the way you want them to be, to keep your child from having a relationship with a father that wants to be involved, is what I don't agree with. Now, a lot of people may be like, oh, well, I grew up in a two-parent home, and I'm just as screwed. Did you grow up in a two-parent home where both of your parents were involved, both of your parents were loving, both of your parents loved each other? Or did you just grow up in a two-parent home where both were just there? And don't think just because your life isn't the way people feel it should be, or the way you feel it should be, don't think that your life is screwed, because people who grow up in one-parent homes face more factors than people who grow up in two-parent homes. I may be wrong, but this is just my opinion from what I've witnessed. And after growing up one way, that's my best friend Tom. After growing up one way and after being exposed to another, even if me and my husband were to get divorced now, I would always make sure my kids have a relationship with their father, because that's very important to me. But not only that they have a relationship with their father, it's important that children have a relationship with both parents, a loving relationship with both parents. And as parents, we always look at things as, I want better for my child. I want to expose my child to to a better life than I had. And to me, this is a part of that whole saying that I want to expose my child to a better life than I had. I don't want my children to grow up thinking that they constantly have to push themselves to I don't want my children growing up to be driven by the almighty dollar. I want my children to be driven by purpose. And to me, having both parents involved in their lives, instilling that helps. I know I probably was kind of all over the place with this, but I just wanted to come in and do the video. I think I pretty much touched on everything I wanted to touch on, and I think that's it. Until next video, I'm out.